Next, from Dixon, Illinois, as Illinois prepares to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the birth of President Ronald Reagan, we visit the schoolhouse where President Reagan attended grade school and see how it has been transformed into an historical center honoring his legacy. This runs about 10 minutes.
Good afternoon. I'm Ann Lewis, and I'm the chairman of the Dixon Reagan Centennial Commission and vice chair of the Illinois Reagan Centennial Commission. And welcome to Dixon, Illinois, where we have 7 different sites of Reagan origin that will be holding centennial celebrations during 2011. This is the school that Mr. Reagan went to in the 6th and 7th grade. It's now the Dixon Historic Center. It was originally the South Central School, Dixon High School. And within this building are wonderful exhibits, including a tremendous Reagan exhibit, as well as a replica of the classroom that Mr. Reagan attended class in. There's also a Walgreen exhibit and a Abraham Lincoln exhibit from the Black Hawk War era when Mr. Lincoln served here in the Black Hawk War. Many interesting things, many interesting sights. Let's go inside and see. Jelly Bellies were Ronald Reagan's favorite snack, and the Jelly Belly Company donated this portrait of Mr. Reagan. 14,000 jelly beans create this, and it's valued at about $15,000. And this is what welcomes you when you enter the building. Well, Dixon is not known just for President Ronald Reagan. During the Black Hawk War in Illinois in the 1830s, there was a fort here, Fort Dixon. And during that time, a young Abraham Lincoln served at this fort, the only time he ever served in the military, and he was a captain. There is a statue on the other side of the Rock River that depicts him as a young soldier at the fort. His commanding officer was Zachary Taylor, a future president of the United States. And during the time, although it is not corroborated that they ever served together, another soldier that served here in Dixon was Jefferson Davis, future president of the Confederacy. Also on the first floor near the entrance is an example of John Deere's self-scouring plow. When Mr. Deere moved out from out east into the Midwest, he found that the sticky prairie soil was not plowed very easily by farmers. So he invented in his blacksmith shop that's 12 miles from here in a small community called Grand Detour that has a wonderful blacksmith shop that is a recreation of his original shop and his original home. He invented this self-scouring plow that led to the farmers being able to plant their fields far easier and the advent of farming across Illinois. He later moved to Moline, where the headquarters of John Deere now are located. Now we're on the second floor of the Dixon Historic Center, and this is a replica of the actual classroom that Ronald Reagan in 6th and 7th grade actually was a student in. The old desk, these are real desks, they weren't actually his, but the type with the ink wells, they've been refurbished. The typical maps and teacher's desk and bookcase, all of these are authentic, the way it would have been when Mr. Reagan was a student here in 6th and 7th grade. In addition to the classroom, right here in the hallway, we have the actual high school diploma of Ronald Reagan when he was here at South Central School. And then we have the beginning of his movie career with many of the movie posters from the various films he served in. But for those that want some more detail in Reagan history, on the second floor is also the Reagan History Room. And across from the classroom, here we have the Reagan Memorial Room, which has a history with a mural showing different phases of his life and memorabilia from Tampico, where he was born, Dixon, where he grew up, Eureka, where he went to college, during his Hollywood years as a film star. Here's a nice memorial to his daughter Maureen, who actually preceded him in death. There are presidential memorabilia, wonderful photographs, inauguration memorabilia from when he was elected president, campaign buttons, scenes from when he came back in the 1940s for Luella Parsons Day, and then when he came back in the 1950s during Indian Summer Days and rode a horse, which of course he was a great horseman and loved horseback riding, and that's why the newest statue of Ronald Reagan today is in the Heritage Crossing Park on the Rock River, a wonderful statue of Mr. Reagan riding this beautiful Palomino. There are pictures of his parents, of his sibling, Neil, whose nickname was Moon, and of course in this town, Reagan was known as Dutch, and that was a nickname that his father, Jack Reagan, gave him as a little boy, said he looked like a little Dutchman. So even in years later, after he became president, if he was in a large crowd and somebody hollered out, "Hey, Dutch," he always would go to them because he knew that was somebody from home. And that's what he referred to Dixon as, a place to come home to. And he came back time after time. And so this room celebrates all that experience from birth through the presidency. Anytime Ronald Reagan came back to Dixon, he always would go out to Lowell Park, the park where he served as a lifeguard during his summers between high school and college. He loved that park and he loved the Rock River, and he wrote about it in his autobiography, An American Life. In fact, one of his final requests was to have the beach rebuilt at Lowell Park, and that is one of our projects for the Dixon Parks District during the 2011 year. We're hoping with Ronald Reagan Day at Wrigley Field that as a fundraiser that we will be able to honor Mr. Reagan's last wish. The unique thing about Mr. Reagan and Dixon is that there are many people here that remember him. The executive director of this facility, Bill Jones, is one of those people that has personal stories. And here in this picture, we see after Mr. Reagan had retired as president, Bill Jones, his wife, and another group of people, Norm Wimes, who is the one responsible for purchasing this building, visiting with Mr. Reagan when he was still seeing people in his Simi Valley office. But Bill can tell you many firsthand stories during that California visit.
Okay, I'm Bill Jones, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about this picture that we have hanging here in the Dixon Historic Center. It's a group of 10 people who took a trip to California and visited with Ronald Reagan, and we spent 5 days with him in Century City. It was right after he had been the president, and we were able to meet with him up in his office every day and talk a little bit about things back in Dixon. We learned a lot from him that we didn't know about his experience as a lifeguard out here, and he could remember how many minutes it took to swim across the river, how many minutes and how many seconds. He could remember those kind of things, and it was a great experience. And I realized at that time, that was the closest I had ever had a chance of being with him, what a common person he was. He just talked with us like we'd known him for years, and he fit right in. And our meeting with him was supposed to be like from 11 o'clock till 12 o'clock every day. Every day we was there, it ended up being about 2:30 before we got out of that room, because he told us all of his experiences at Eureka College, playing football. He talked about his brother. He was just a common type person. It was a great experience.
Thanks for taking a look here in Dixon at one of the many sites we have, the Dixon Historic Center, which used to be the school that Ronald Reagan attended in 6th and 7th grade. There are many more sites to see here: his boyhood home, his church, the library that he loved, the new statue of him on a horse, Lowell Park, where he was lifeguard and saved 77 people's lives in the course of 7 summers, the Freedom Park, which is a replica of the Berlin Wall. Many different sites to see, and during the 2011 Reagan Centennial, there will be many exciting events, so come to Dixon.
You're watching the Illinois Channel, an independent nonprofit corporation formed to provide gavel-to-gavel coverage of Illinois state government and other public affairs events taking place across Illinois.